this is my personal journey, and if I offend anyone's feelings, that is the least of my intentions. But I'm a very honest person, so I'm just being honest about how I feel. I don't know if anybody else has this kind of journey, but if anybody else has this kind of journey, I just want them to know they're not alone. And whatever you do with your life is your business. And if you're happy doing it, that's great. I'm merely commenting in the following video about how I feel about other people's lifestyles in how it relates to me. If I am unable to relate to you because our lifestyles are so different, that is my opinion. I don't have to like your lifestyle. It's not my lifestyle. So what I'm going to be saying in this video is purely my opinion and my experience. I am not in any way pointing fingers or naming names. And if you are offended and want to talk about it, I am more than happy to talk about it. But I am in this channel to share my journey and my thoughts and my experience so that I can speak to other people who may feel alone in this experience. Because I feel alone in this experience. I feel that nobody says or thinks the things I say and think. I feel completely alone. I have friends. And they're very nice. I'm so tired of saying this. I've been saying this all day. I know a lot of people who are very nice. But I feel alone in that I seem to be living in a way that is so radical and alternative that there is no one else like me. I'm not talking about the trans thing. I'm trans, and it's not as big a part of me as other people say it is about them. I'm trans because I was born biologically with the wrong gender. But it doesn't define who I am or how I live. It merely means I have to shoot myself in the leg for the rest of my life to get the right level of hormones. It simply means I don't have all the parts that I should have, and I have extra parts I shouldn't. And I will hope to medically remedy that in the near future. But it's not who I am. It is part of who I am. But I don't feel that people like me are represented. And if they are, I haven't seen them. And if there are others like me out there, I want them to know they're not alone. In literature, there are static characters and round characters. Static characters are characters that are unidimensional. They are flat characters. They do one thing, and that is what they do, and that is all they do. Round characters are characters that are complex, characters that have depth, that are multifaceted. There's a lot about them, so they leap out of the page and seem real because there's a lot going on. And I feel sometimes when I move through the world that a lot of the people that I meet are flat characters or static characters who don't change and move to the beat of a single tune, and they never deviate. They are just this thing. And I feel like a round character who is surrounded by static characters, and therefore cannot relate. I do everything I do wholeheartedly, including these videos, which is why I might make people uncomfortable with my frankness. But I have a hard time making friends because I can't relate to people in a deep way, because I can't find people who are deep. And it's not an insult. I'm not trying to insult anybody. Maybe they are deep, but they're not deep enough for me. So it doesn't matter how nice you are. I actually don't like nice very much. I kind of like people who are combative and who fight back. And that makes them seem less static to me. But there's plenty of nice people I can't stand, or whom I have nothing to say to. Anyway, watch the rest of the video. I'll explain it. Hey guys, this is Kai for ItsAMansWorldFTM1. I am one of your Sunday guys, and this week's topic for me is week 33, the LGBT community. The question originally was, how has the LGBT community responded to you and your partner, or behaved at you because of you and your partner? I feel pretty tired of saying this, but I don't have a partner, and I'm not hugely a part of the LGBT community aside from, like, this channel and very passively Facebook and the few friends that I've made in the support group that I was in before I moved. The question fails to apply to me like many of the questions in this channel because it is assumed that as you grow older and mature, there are certain steps that you're going to take as part of that, as part of growing up. For example, developing a career, buying a house, getting a mortgage, which the two are related, finding a lifelong partner, or at least a long-term partner, something about children, you know, making them or adopting them, or dogs, or cats, depending on what you're like and if you like children or cats or dogs better. And since this is an older channel about men who are older, it is kind of assumed in these questions that that's what this is about, or maybe the original member, that's their story. That's part of their journey, having that sort of homemaker mentality. Maybe not homemaker is not wrong, but home building mentality. You know, it is often said that many trans men were originally part of the lesbian community, and the lesbian community is very well known for their U-Haul syndrome of meet you within a few days, move in together, and make a life until something. So it's possible because of that original path that they were on before transition, that's why a lot of these questions have to do with family. Maybe because also the younger channels they're too young to have that sort of mentality, and so therefore this provides maybe a different view than most of the channels that include younger guys. But that's not my path, and I don't feel very much drawn to that, having children and developing a house. And I'm not the kind of person who is very good at careers or deals well with money, and therefore, you know, it's kind of like a domino effect. I don't have the first domino, and therefore the other dominoes don't follow. So the LGBT community has had absolutely no impact or effect or response to me and my dating life, particularly because I don't have a dating life, as I've said in every other video ever that talks about this. But I can tell you how I feel about the LGBT community. The LGBT community has accepted me as a trans person. The T community has accepted me as a trans person, with little, if any, strife or anything like that. Okay, so that was amazing. I forgot. I haven't really used my camera in a while. This is the good one. And so my battery died right in the middle. What was I saying? Right, so nobody that I've told that I'm trans, beyond my family, has had any negative comments to say about my transgender status. Not a single person. They've all been very welcoming. They've messed up with the pronouns. But beyond that, and then regretting it and apologizing it, I've had literally zero strife from being trans. So people's reaction to me being in the LGBT community has been perfect. My reaction to the LGBT community has been different. There are nice trans people, and there are not nice trans people, and there are less than stellar human beings who are trans. There are less than stellar human beings that are not trans. I find the LGBT community a little stifling, particularly the L community. I recently went to a lesbian women's event, and I never really liked women's spaces, even while I was a lesbian. I did go to an all-girl Catholic school, and it was a nightmare. So this was like 2 weeks ago. I went to a lesbian event that said trans welcoming. Maybe they meant trans women welcoming. I felt so out of place. It was incredibly uncomfortable, and I could not relate to that lesbian story that they were telling, that they were all telling. There was like 9 or 10 different things, you know, like stand-up and music and acting and narratives and poetry. I'm not saying they were badly done. I'm not saying that the actors were terrible. Some of them were, but some of them were perfectly fine. But it was a narrative that I cannot relate to at all. Women's events and women's spaces are incredibly uncomfortable to me, as they would be to any male who shows up and cannot relate to that experience. And I have a whole rant about it, which I'm not going to go into. I don't have enough time. So, lesbians and their journeys are just incredibly alien to me. I'm not saying they're in any way wrong, or these people are in any way bad people. They all seem incredibly nice. But it's like talking to an alien. The gay community, and by this I mean homosexual men, or men who prefer men, is very attractive in a sexual way. There are a lot of very sexy people, many different body types and whatever. And while they're all still incredibly nice, I could not relate to any of them. I've met about 6 at my new job, and many others besides. And their lifestyle tends to include about 4 different things that I can tell. There is a fashion-forward, fabulous thing that they do, which is great, but I don't relate to it. I'm a bit too macho. I do have moments where, you know, fabulous, amazing, but it's like so not part of my personality. I become annoyed that people who identify as part of the LGBT spectrum do not understand, or maybe are incapable of understanding. Just because you can relate to some title doesn't mean that is the only thing you are. I'm a writer and a scholar and an artist and a programmer and a movie critic and a debater, and I have my own beliefs about politics and religion, and I happen to be trans, and I happen to like men. They are additives to my personality. They are not my personality. But a lot of the LGBT people that I meet, LGBTQ people that I meet, that lifestyle, their sexual preference or their gender happens to be everything they are. It is their lifestyle. So a lot of trans people are all about trans stuff, trans activism, trans friends, trans dating, trans groups, trans everything. And the same is true for lesbians. They're all about lesbian things and lesbian events and lesbian activism. I'm not saying they're all like this. I'm saying the majority of the ones I have met are like this. Every gay guy that I've met at work is incredibly sweet and charming and funny. And they are gay. That's it. That's all they are. I'm sure they have other interests. But being gay happens to be a lifestyle. Being gay isn't a lifestyle. It's a sexual preference for me. I like men. But I also do all these other things. So I find myself limited by the gay experience that all the gays that I have met have. There are homebodies, of course, who stay at home and watch awful television and listen to awful music, and who have boyfriends and who are gay. And then there's, of course, the majority, which is gay guys who go to clubs and drink a lot and like dancing and are gay. I am neither of these. I have experienced a lot of media, and I believe that I have taste. But I'm also a snob. And I don't like dancing. And I don't like the kind of music that gay guys like, for the most part. And I don't drink very much. And I don't like going somewhere where it's all a bunch of strangers whom I don't know and cannot talk to, because I'm not intimidated, but I don't know how to explain it. I don't like talking to I don't like being alone surrounded by strangers. I like having a friend. That I don't really have friends that I can go to things with. So going to a dark bar where I don't know anybody, and I don't like to do the activities that are intended to be done primarily at a bar. Dancing and drinking. That doesn't appeal to me. So I find myself limited by the limitations of the people that I meet who identify as LGBT or Q. They seem to, they go to work and they sleep and they have lovers and families. And they have, in my experience, little in common with me, and lifestyles that I don't prefer or live or personally agree with. So, the community has been very nice and welcoming to me. Yes, but I'm not really very much impressed by the community on a personal level. They're very nice people and they do a lot for the community. And I just don't care about any of the things that they do. I'm an awful human being. Thanks for watching. Next week is going to be week 34. As always, I have no idea what the topic is. We'll find out next week together. And this is Kai. Have a nice week, guys.